Hello and welcome to All Things Rex Worldwide Live. It's so good to see you. It's another Thursday. And if you're listening and watching live, you can leave comments and ask questions at the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or Periscope or LinkedIn or any of the other platforms, you're not able to do that. But from Facebook, you can ask questions and you can leave comments. So welcome today. My guest is one of the really good guys, someone I've known for quite some time. I'm so thrilled to have him on the show. His name is David Winning, and he's a television director with 43 features, 29 series, and over 180 TV credits. David is mainly known for his work on Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, MGM's Stargate Atlantis, ABC's Dinotopia, and the HBO thriller Exception to the Rule, starring Kim Cattrall, Sean Young, and Eric McCormack. He's a proven and prolific director of feature films and many television series, as I've obviously mentioned, in virtually all genres. Now, David was a dreamer kid from the Canadian prairies, making movies at the age of 10 with a Super 8 camera in his native land. And he went on to do all of this. So we're going to ask him how he did it. And maybe he'll even share tips on how you can do it too, if that's what you choose to do. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. David Winning. David, my
friend. Hi, Cyberland.
Oh, it is so good to see you and so good to have you here.
Thank you, Rex. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here.
It's great. So you are in Alberta right now.
I am.
And
beautiful Alberta.
Beautiful Alberta, in your bunker, as you said, right? But
I'm in an undisclosed location in a bunker underground. Yes, thus the mood lighting. Yeah. Rex and I were just connecting with the fact that we haven't seen each other physically in 7 or 8 years. We had a great lunch at the Smokehouse in LA, and I got to get back there. We got to do that again. It's got to be sooner than every 8 years.
And eventually, indeed it does. Good thing that we can stay connected by phone or text or otherwise. But the Vintage LA, the Vintage Los Angeles page on Facebook has just been posting a lot of stuff about the Smokehouse recently.
That's great.
I don't know if you're aware of it.
I didn't want to ask. I was hoping it was still open. You never know with restaurants. Gosh,
no, it is still open. And one day, out of the blue, not that long ago, you sent me the photo of us there out in front of the Smokehouse, and it was a treat to get that photo, especially since I lost everything from my when my Facebook shut me down.
Folks who don't know, if you're ever in LA, the Smokehouse is very famous. Been in a lot of movies, and they have the most amazing cheese toast.
That's right. That's how he got me there. We got to go get cheese toast.
I said, Rex, there's cheese toast.
And it's right outside of Warner Brothers.
Yep.
To the west.
So of course, while you're having lunch, all the stars come in for drinks at the bar, and you're like, "Is that George Clooney?" It's George Clooney.
Were we lucky enough to sit at the Argo table, or were we next to it that time?
I can't remember where we were. It was the year. It was 2013, I think. So it was the year that Argo had just come out, and a lot of that film was shot in Smokehouse. That's where they had their original planning meetings and stuff. So it was kind of fun.
So very cool, David. You actually, so that the viewers, I'm going to go over here and make sure that I got a lot of stuff to do. But while I'm doing this, can you tell me about? You've got an upcoming movie. It actually doesn't it start airing for Thanksgiving, like next week?
Yes, I do. I've been lucky enough to direct a whole bunch of movies for the Hallmark channel. So love them or hate them, I'm one of the guys responsible for all of your Christmas movies that you guys are watching. And I've got a new movie coming out on Thanksgiving night it's a sequel. It's called The 9 Kittens of Christmas. How could you not watch that? It was an adorable movie to make. So we had a lot of fun. And it's coming out November 25th in the States, Thanksgiving night. So right after you finish the turkey, you can sit down and watch the Hallmark channel. And it's a sequel to a 2013 or 2014 movie called The 9 Lives of Christmas. So I guess it became a fan favorite, and so over the years, people were quite excited to get it to see a sequel. So we made one, which was great.
So returning to the 9, what is it, 9 Kittens of Christmas?
The 9 Kittens of Christmas. When my agent told me the title, I thought, I guess I kind of have to take this job because
I
that
was
sounds
going to
pretty.
say you've been herding
Sounds
cats
pretty.
all
I
your
mean,
life.
who's not going to enjoy this movie, right? I mean, who doesn't enjoy 9? So we
Well,
had 9 kittens in a basket.
you-
It was a lot of fun.
how is it to direct animals like that?
It was great. You know, they say never work with kids or animals, and I had a wonderful kid actor in this movie who's adorable and heartbreaking, and I had 9 incredible kittens in this in a box and in a basket, and basically jumping all over the place. And it was a ton of fun. I think the movie turned out really well. I think the fans are going to be excited about it. So, you know, it's like I said, the original was a fan favorite, and they've been waiting a long time for. It's Kimberly Sustad and Brandon Routh, who people know as Superman.
And that's cool.
Reconnected. So,
and it debuts on the Hallmark Channel.
On the Hallmark Channel, November 25th, and if you're watching in Canada, it's on the W Network across Canada on December 5th.
Well, you have, and we'll come back to this, but you have. Let's start with, you know, you were a kid there making movies with your Super 8, but at 18 you actually dropped some money on making a feature. And can you explain how the David Winning, who's here today, started his career?
Oh gosh, so long ago I barely remember. When I was in my early 20s, I had this plan. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to get into the film business, so I had this plan that I was going to go to USC or one of the film schools, which is quite a leap from a kid from the prairies in Canada. And so I raised money. I was working as a bouncer and a waiter and all sorts of odd jobs, trying to raise money to make my big leap down to film school. And halfway through the money raising process, I got this brainstorm that, gee, maybe I'll just feature film. I thought, how hard could that be? I've already made a couple of short films, and a feature film is just like 5 short films glued together, you know, so it can't be that hard. So I told my dad, and, you know, he fainted, and it's like, what? So basically what I did in my 20s was I created my own film course, and I produced and wrote this movie called Storm, which is still in 7-Elevens. I still see it everywhere. It's like I get a nickel every time it gets rented, or whatever people do with movies now. Nobody rents things anymore. It's all streaming. But I made this film. It took me 4 years in my 20s, and it was just a crash course on how to make your first film. And I kind of figured, I was so naive when I made this. I thought, well, you know, what's going to happen if it's a bomb? Then you just go work in a bookstore, or, you know, bricklayer or something, some honorable profession for the rest of your life, and that was your shot. But it got me into the Directors Guild when I was in my mid-20s, and I just kind of, you know, the rest is history. I got into the Directors Guild, and I was able to start directing episodic television. In my I was 26 or 27. I did an episode of a series called Friday the 13th, a TV series, which was syndicated for many years with Paramount. And you know, as they say, one thing leads to another. But thank God for being naive when you're in your 20s, and you really don't, you know, you don't think this is an impossible task. You are about to climb Mount Everest. You're going to make your own feature film. But we just did it, you know, and I had a great lot of help from a lot of friends, and film turned out, and it was okay.
Well, when you joined the Directors Guild in your 20s, I mean, a lot of us rushed to get into the Screen Actors Guild, and then we do no work for a long, long time, but we managed to pay dues.
Yeah.
Was it the same thing in the Directors Guild, or is there slightly different?
Well, I always tell the story about, you know, I got into this Directors Guild book, and I was literally in the book, and it had everybody's resumes. And the producer in Toronto, who was Miles Dale, who went on to do Shape of Water, got an Oscar for that. He was flipping through the book, and he said, well, this director fell out and they needed somebody. And he said, he's winning. Sounds positive. Let's hire this kid. So I flew out to Toronto, and I was, you know, they're like, how old are you? I was 26 or 27. And I just kind of fell into it. And I've, you know, it's easy to look back in a career and say, how did all this stuff happen to you? Because I've kind of done a bit of every genre. I've just been really, really lucky. And I've never turned down a job. And I've always kind of, you know, I've had a great deal of good fortune, and kind of one thing leads to another. And I took all these jobs because I kind of like the variety of being able to work in a lot of different genres and a lot of different producers that you work for. So it's been fun, and it's been lucrative. And, you know, I really started out wanting to create my own feature films. And I did 2 independent features, and kind of fell into directing episodic TV for decades. But it's just been so educational, and you don't have to worry so much about the headache of trying to raise the money, which has been fun.
Well, that's
I
wow.
want to get back to independent producing. That's always, as you know, for years, that's really what I have always wanted to do. But they keep calling me and keep hiring me, so I'm not gonna complain.
No, and as long as they do, it's a great thing.
Yes, yeah. And Hallmark's been real fun. I did my first Hallmark movie I think 5 years ago, and I just finished my 20th for them. So I've done a whole bunch of Christmas movies and a whole bunch of other seasonal things that they do. And I also I got into the Mystery Wheel. Lacey Chabert, who I've done a few movies with, had one of the Mystery Wheels crossword mysteries, and I did one of those last year, which was a lot of fun. But
that's fantastic. I want to remind people who may be watching live that you can ask questions and or leave comments in the chat room. I did go ahead and get your director's reel link in both Vimeo and YouTube in the chat. And scrolling along the bottom there, just go to go into the chat to get those links. But also they can view it correctly. Here I come back on camera. They can view it from your website, which is davidwinning.com. It's your name.
Yeah. I started the website about 20 years ago, and it was really old and kind of decrepit, and I was getting teased about it. Like, why don't you update your website? So one of my projects during COVID, obviously, was just to try to go back through, and I worked with a designer in Las Vegas, and we tried to update the website so it wasn't so antiquated. And so we ended up putting about over 100 video clips on it, and it was fun. It's like a trip down memory lane. So if you go to my website, you can learn more than you'll ever want to know about me. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff on kind of how I started, and a lot of the press articles and things and stuff. Because I think in my ripe old age I'm at in my career now, my job is mainly what I really want to try to do is mentor more people and try to help people come up, because I had so many people helping me. I think it's kind of payback time. So that's one of the reasons I created the website, was just to give people a little bit of inspiration. And this is how I did it. Everybody gets into the film business differently, and I wouldn't presume to be giving advice to people, but however you get in is the way you get in. There's no right or wrong route. It's just getting to make movies and get on camera and write and produce and act, or whatever your love is. That's what you got to try and do.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that in a second. I'm going to say that you also have done a few shows with me on my radio podcast, which was Rex Sikes Movie Beat, which is still available. You can find that on Anchor. You can search for David and that as well. And here we are. When I got into the movie, and I make no secret about this, when I got into the movie business, I did it pretty much for all the wrong reasons. I think I was filling a hole in myself. I wanted the attention. I wanted stardom. I wanted to be significant. I wanted to have that, screw you money, so that I could go to the restaurants in LA and, be seated without having to wait in line or pay a maitre d'.
Yeah, I wanted to meet girls, I think.
Yeah, well, I realized if I had wanted to meet girls, truly I had to become a rock star. I wouldn't have been a musician. But that's a harder life than being an actor. You got to collect all that equipment and do all that stuff for a long time.
Shorter lifespan, I think, too, unless you're Keith Richards,
Yeah, except for Keith Richards. But you need a roadie, and if you don't. But at any rate, the point is that I didn't understand the business. I thought it was all about being an artist, and the wackier the artist you were, maybe the better it was. Like if you were James Dean or really Marlon Brando or Shelley Winterish, that people would gravitate to you. Well, they make concessions for people who are famous, but they don't make concessions for people who are dicks who aren't famous. And, I was certainly a dick who wasn't famous. And so why I'm asking you that is because today, I learned a lot of stuff about how you be a team player, how you contribute to the production, how it's not all about you, even though like you and I will talk about going to movies and just watching ourselves, but it's not all about you. It's about the project and what you can bring to it. So with that in mind, with that mentor hat on, what kind of tips or suggestions would you give to people who, whether they are working behind the camera or in front of the camera, what they can do to make that transition a positive one?
Well, this doesn't necessarily answer your question, because there's a lot of answers to that. I think one of the big lessons I learned really early on was when I finished my first feature, Storm. It took me 4 years to get the second one going, And I was trying to raise money, and I had written the script, and it was a pretty good script, and we just couldn't get the funding going. And I'd had great reviews, and I'd got a lot of really good press on Storm, and I thought, well, the next one's going to be a breeze. I'm the star now. It's just going to happen. And it didn't happen. And one day somebody said, have you sent the script to everyone knows Michael Ironside, the character actor, Michael Ironside? And I said no, and we had some link to him through some friends. So we sent the script to him. He read it, and 4 years of us trying to raise money. We had fully funded film happening 3 weeks after we sent him the script, because
Wow.
he agreed to be in it. And that's kind of when I realized in my late 20s and being very naive that the film business really is run by star power, because nobody cares about me. Nobody's ever heard of me. Nobody cares who directed or wrote a movie. They care about, Brad Pitt or, Johnny Depp, or, well, I'm dating myself, but some current ones, Chalamet. They want to see those kind of folks on the screen now. And as soon as you get stars involved, that's why star power still is what it is. And that's why I ended up getting my second film made, because Michael Ironside wanted to do it.
That's awesome. Well, and plus you persisted for 4 years. You didn't give it up.
No, I spent most of my 20s just hitting my head against the wall going, I'm going to make movies. I'm going to make movies, I mean, I started with zero. I mean, nothing. I was a kid with a little movie camera, Northwest Calgary, growing up in Alberta. I had a bunch of dreams, and I couldn't even imagine directing 40 feature films. I mean, I couldn't even imagine directing one. I had no plan or roadmap how to get in. I just thought, I guess you just kind of do a bit of everything, and eventually some doors are going to open, which is exactly what happens. One thing literally leads to another, and you meet people and producers, and someone says, well, they're looking for a director. I mean, I've gotten so many director jobs in the last 35, 40 years because somebody's backed out, or somebody's not been able to do a show. I've been the fill-in director on so many shows. They'll call you on a Sunday night and say, look, the director's quit, or they fired him, and you start tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and here's the script. And I'm literally reading the script as I'm walking. Okay, who's married to who, and who's doing what, and and that's kind of the way things have always happened.
Wow, yeah, no, it's impressive. I mean, when the first movie that I ever made, a union movie that I ever made, not all the non-union I did before that, I sat in my dressing room waiting to go on, and I wanted to cry. I was so incredibly bored. I wanted to be out looking, and watching the stuff and hanging with people. And at the time, it was just kind of like, you go sit there, we'll call you when you're ready. And I was like, okay. So then I sat in this, little trailer dressing room for most of the day until they got ready to shoot my stuff. And at that point, I thought, I want every single person I know to work on a movie, so they understand what it's like to work on a movie. I mean, how many people it takes, how long it takes, how hurry up and wait, how, because they just don't know. And people don't get what you were just talking about, the art of the deal, how movies are made by star power, or the fact that, you do what you just said. In the last 30 or 35 years, you've been the fill-in or the go-to guy, and direct and gotten jobs that way. I think everybody thinks like everything else is just going to be this kind of, it's going to be tough, but there's kind of this straight path to success.
Oh, exactly. And I used to have this fantasy life thinking that to be a director, they would, the agent would call you and say, they want you to do the script and read the script. So they send you the script, and you read the script and decide if it's something you want to do. It's just not like that.
Right.
I mean, it's like, can you do it? No, they'll go somewhere else. It's like this, and it's like I really wanted the jobs and I wanted to work. So like I said, I've never really turned down anything. And I thought eventually you'd get that luxury, but that's not kind of how the business works. I mean, and it hasn't always been, jobs. I mean, remember the great fallout of 2008 when the housing thing all collapsed, and there was like 2 years where the phone didn't ring, 2 years where I didn't do anything, no jobs, no nothing. And I kind of thought, gee, am I retired? You just never know where it's going to take you. And then nobody was making MOWs and nobody was making series television in 2008 and 2009, at least at my level. So, I had a little growing up to do. And I'm, always trying to write and develop things and just try to keep active that way. But the biggest thing is you just have to keep inspired. You have to, the little kid in you has to always be there. You have to still find it exciting, because film sets are, as you're saying, can be the most boring places on the planet. It's like, let's watch paint dry. let's watch this grass grow really carefully. I've always had friends visit me when I'm shooting, and they're like, "Oh, I want to come to the film set." So they come, and always happens. 45 minutes in, they're like, "We're just gonna go, because do you do this all day?" You know, it's a very slow process making movies, but obviously when you're in the nucleus of it and you're the director, the camera, and the actors, it's like it's such a focus. It's incredible. But from the outside, people watching, I mean, it's really kind of slow-paced work.
You know, in the old days, I mean, by the way, for those people who aren't old enough, MOW is movie of the week.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But for those who know, no. But
have the glossary running across the bottom.
That's right.
Terms.
That's right. Well, there's a lot of things we share in common. The notion of banging your head, the fact that movie, you know, it's a factory. I mean, it's really factory work, and the glamour, I think, always comes out, you know, when the movie's released. That's where the potential for the excitement is. But you get to meet fascinating people. I mean, I look at how blessed I am to have worked with or worked side by side, or to have visited, you know, sets that just people who I've been awe-inspired from the time I was little on. Some of them turn out to be really, really wonderful. Some of them turn out to be not so wonderful. You know,
never meet your idols.
Yeah, but it's truly an amazing business. You had said something, and now I got to remember what I was going to ask you about. I don't know, but I do know that we have a question from Cindy, so I'll ask that one. She said, out of all the things that you've done, what's your favorite?
Hi, Cindy. Probably the latest thing. Usually you get most excited about most recent thing you've done. I'm proud of a lot of things. When you go through your career, what happens is a couple of things will stand out. And I did a kids series for Nickelodeon back in the 90s that still haunts me in a good way. It was called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it was a little kids anthology series that just exploded and took off. It ran 5 seasons, and I did 4 seasons of it. I did about 11 episodes, and I guess we scared millions of kids, and I didn't realize, because when you're making a show, you never know if anybody's watching. Right? But to this day, I get asked about this almost once a month. Someone will say, "Afraid of the Dark. I loved Afraid of the Dark." But it was a fun little anthology series. Most recently, I mean, I guess I got into the movies to make thrillers, and I'm really proud of the Hallmark movies and the work we've done in the last 5 years. I think some of the movies, I love tear-jerking stories, and it's great to make family entertainment and stuff and do it in an interesting way. And the challenge obviously is, because some of the stuff is so similar, the challenge is to try to make it interesting and fun. But I also had this kind of schizophrenic existence, because I was also simultaneously, in the last few years, I was lucky enough to be one of the house directors on a really violent vampire series called Van Helsing, which is on Netflix. So if you can imagine lighting Christmas trees by day and then tearing throats out by night, it was a weird existence. But the thing is, all of it is the same thing. It's all entertainment. It's all the same rules apply to no matter what you're shooting: a family Christmas movies, a kids series, or a Western, or a vampire apocalypse. I mean, it's all about pulling people into stories. And so I'm proud of Van Helsing. I'm really proud of everything. I look back at all the stuff I've done, and I get tired because it's a long list now, because I'm old. But I'm proud of everything. I'm proud of everything that we were able to do. It's all about, and the fun thing is just being able to mix and just be able to work in so many different genres.
Wow, that's truly cool. The very fact that you say I'm proud of everything, because when you know how hard things are, I mean, I think some people I have certainly gotten upset and it didn't turn out the way I wanted or something, and so I wasn't that proud of it. But when all is said and done, I should be proud of it, because what it took to do it was monumental. What it took to get it done, or what it took to work with people. So when you say I look back on my career and I'm really proud of everything I've done, I think that is just truly a wonderful attitude to be able to have, and to be able to look back that way.
It may be just me, because I'm so absorbed and focused on each project at a time that you're trying to make it the best thing you can, and it's not. And the thing is, it's not just me. I mean, I am supported by so many creative people who just make me look good. It's like, "Oh, you're the director, big deal." But I mean, there's always the crews are like there's hundreds of people on the crews, and the writers and the producers and the actors and everything. I mean, you have such a great support team when you're working on a good project. And so how could you not look good? And with this one coming up, 9 kittens, I mean, all I had to do was turn the camera on, Rex. It was like 9 kittens jumping out of a box. You know, it was very cute.
Oh, that's cool. Well, we're going to have to take a break in just a moment, and I'm going to come back and ask you about, screenwriting and acting and people breaking into the business. But before that, I think you just gave away your upcoming book title,
which is
Christmas Trees by Days, Ripping Throats Out by Night.
Well, we were trying to find a movie to do a crossover, Hallmark and Van Helsing, and we thought we'd call it like Mistletoe and Monsters.
There you go. There you go.
Trying to find a title, but.
And on top of it, I mean, people should be aware you also were part of the Power Ranger franchise.
Yes, I used to say, I've won National Drama Awards for directing television, Directors Guild Awards for directing television, and on my tombstone, it's going to say he directed the Power Rangers sequel. So, wow. But I'm proud of that too. I had a great time on that. This is like going way back. This is in the 90s. I directed the second Power Rangers sequel. Power Ranger Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, and it was the last one that went to theaters, and I was incredibly proud of the movie. I worked on it for 6 months, and you get teased about a lot of things. That's one of the things I get teased about. But
really,
I had a great time. It's a good movie.
Oh yeah. Well, that's awesome. All right, so excuse me while we take a quick break, and just hang in there, and everything will be will take care of itself. So you're watching Director David Winning on All Things Rex Worldwide Live, brought to you by the Los Angeles Tribune. And so here we are.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We have earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And we're back with David Winning. So, David, I want to ask you this question, and you and I could talk for hours, and we have. But
we have.
You're a wealth of professional, talented information that people just. Well, I would love to, if at my age or if I were younger, I would love to shadow you. I would just love to sit, in a chair and be able to follow you, when you work, because it's an exciting thing.
It's a big mystery. That's one of the things actually I was going to say, Rex, is I would love to mentor people and I would love to let people shadow me, but I'm not entirely sure they would learn anything because it's such a kind of an internal process. What I do, I mean, people have said that they've watched me directing and they're like, oh, I learned so much. I think, what did you learn? I mean, all the stress is up here. I mean, I'm the one that's kind of, I like to run great positive sets and people have fun on my shows, but I mean, I'm eating the stress for breakfast, let me tell you. And I don't know if you can, I'm going to have to learn how to do it because I want to definitely give back and try to help people coming up. There's lots of folks that want to come and watch and try to learn. And I would love to, I don't know. It's hard to, I don't know what my skill is, but I would love to try and pass along whatever it is. Cause I've had some success. I've been really lucky, but I'm not quite sure how you teach people how to direct.
Well, I think shadowing is a big part of it because, and or the ability to say, in the old days when it was print that one, why did you choose that one over all the rest?
Yeah.
And, just learning from your sensibilities. Running a friendly set, by the way, is probably paramount in my book for being a director, because with all the stress and all the pressure to make it a place that everybody wants to come to work to and to work with, is really, I think, a critical skill to have. So that's one that you can pass along, certainly. And then there are other things. I mean, somebody could sit next to you in an editing bay and you could say,
I'd love to do that. And even one of my favorite things is the sound mix, which
yes.
we don't always often get to go to now because of COVID and stuff that's kind of changed the nature of the business. But the sound mix is a ton of fun.
Well, and not only that, but I would argue that in some ways it's one of the most important parts of the movie, because I mean, I've watched movies I could barely see, you know, where it was snowy and scrambly, but if I can't hear it and if it doesn't sound like a movie, I tend to tune it out. And that's
Exactly.
not, it's not because I have an auditory preference.
Yeah.
It's
No, it's good. It's just so, I mean, it's so gratifying to hear everything all come together. And
yeah,
you know, sometimes you even get it at a late stage where the color timings happen and you're actually seeing finished visual effects and you think, wow, this actually works. I kind of like this. I mean, I still feel like a kid watching something for the first time when I'm seeing something edited and put together and stuff. And gosh, the day I lose that is the day I'm going to have to hang it up and retire, I think, because it's just hard work. And if you're not passionate about something, and if you aren't still jazzed about trying to do something different, even though everything seems so repetitive and the same nowadays with, you know, sequel after sequel, and there's not a lot of originality. And yet, you know, like, you know, they say there's only 7 stories, you can tell basically. But I mean, I think the challenge is still just to try to find the spark in anything and make anything brilliant if you can.
So I have a bunch of questions, and like I said, we could spend hours talking about this. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, you know, you say, well, I'm the fill-in director for a lot of things, but there are those projects that you have directed or chosen to direct, or ones that inspired you, or sometimes maybe you even passed on something or didn't get the job, but you got a script and you went, wow, this is good. I'd really like to do this. What is it? How can an inspiring writer, what do they need to know in a nutshell, essentially, about story, about making a script a page turner if somebody wants to read it? Do you have a bit of advice for?
Well,
I mean, I know it's different for everybody, but
I think I've got ADD. My friends tease me about having ADD, so I need stuff to happen and change and be different, and a lot of variety to occur. And one of the big things that gets scary when you're reading a script from a new writer is just too much dialogue. You know, you're flipping through it and it's like, this is just pages and pages of dialogue. So I'm a big fan of just trying to pump a lot of variety and a lot of scenes and a lot of changes and surprises and stuff. It's easy to say that, but you know, I think that's one way to, they always say when you're writing not to put too much direction into it. And I think, I don't care. I mean, if somebody's suggesting shots, I'll steal them. I'll steal from anybody when I'm doing a movie. I don't care if somebody said starts on a close on the windshield and pulls up, you know, whatever it is. I love stealing stuff like that. So I don't know if that's such a hard, fast rule, but I haven't done a lot of writing. I mean, I wrote my first 2 independent films, and I've doctored a lot of things. One of the sort of joys of when I was in my 30s, I realized, you mean I can change? I'd get a script and we'd be doing, you know, a low budget action thriller or something. I won't mention the name of the movies, but they'd say, I'd say, can I change this? You'd be reading it. It was a breakthrough for me in my career. It's like, I'm reading a script and I'm thinking, this is terrible. Can I change this? Can I add something to this? And they're like, well, we don't care. It's like, if it doesn't cost us money, who cares? We don't care. Sure, whatever, change it, you know, make it better. So I thought the floodgates open, and I had an opportunity to kind of doctor and change scripts and try to make things as more fun. The whole point is you're trying to elevate anything. I mean, I started when I was doing the series I mentioned, Friday the 13th. I was 26 years old. I'd never done any episodic television before, and I got literally the worst script of the season. They just dumped it on me. I think that's why the director pretended he was sick and left or something. So I got to fill in, but I got just the worst script. It was about killer bees. People are fans of this show, and you can look it up. It's called The Sweetest Sting. And I did this killer episode out of this because I was trying so hard to make an impression. And it's like, you get whatever you get. You make lemons out of lemonade, whatever it is. You know, you bring all your experience and all the movies you loved growing up, and you apply them to whatever they give you to make. And that's been the thrill for me working in episodic TV. It's literally just trying to elevate anything. And you know, to be fair, lots of amazing scripts I've worked with and great writers I've worked with, but I just remember how it started out, you know, and I remember the producer saying, boy, this episode turned out really well. This killer bee thing, we thought it was a piece of crap, you know. And that's just me trying to show off, I guess, when you're 26 and 27. I remember walking on the set in Toronto and saying to the crew, I was so naive, where have you guys never put the camera? You know, stuff like that. Why? We always do things a certain way because I was just desperate to get different angles and different ways of doing stuff. So, and obviously, we've discussed this. I'm a huge fan of Steadicam and Ronin and moving cameras, and I love just pulling. I mean, I just love constant motion. I mean, it's moving pictures after all. That's what it's about, and that's just always a challenge I've had. Just visually dragging people into stories just by designing the way you're going to shoot something so that you just pull people from the first moment into a story. I've always felt like the challenge when you're doing TV and when you're directing is, I always think of people flipping channels and stopping on one of my shots because it's just dynamic and moving and you're chasing people down halls and stuff. And I just try to keep things really busy because I have, as I said, very short attention span. So if I'm interested in it, I'm hoping other people are going to find it exciting.
But that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So let me ask you this question then. How does an actor attract you if you have a short attention span? How do they interest you when they audition? What are some of the qualities or characteristics or means or methods that one might use to be better at auditioning for you or, for that matter, another director or casting director?
Well, I think we talked about this just before we went on today about how and everything's by video now, so the personal side of it is kind of gone. But when people would audition, actors walk into a room and there's usually the producer and the director there, and the tribunal of grouches, as I call it, kind of sitting, and the actor would walk in, and I told you, I think basically in all the auditions I've been in, the group of us basically decide in the first 5 seconds if the person's right, just by the way they walk in the room, which is so unfair to actors. Because you just have a picture in your mind of what somebody's going to be like. And the most exciting auditions I've ever been in are when someone you said no to in your head, when they walk in, completely turn you around with just doing something different in an audition, which is, and I wouldn't know exactly how to suggest that to people, but trying to, turn an opinion around from the first moment you walk in is a huge challenge. It's like arriving at a party you don't want to be at, right? And it's like, oh gosh. It's like you already feel like people hate you when you walk into these audition rooms, but
does feel like that.
Yeah, you've been in enough audition rooms.
Oh yeah.
And I'm very empathetic to actors, so I feel the pain of, I guess, I don't know, to answer your question, I guess just try to bring something different. Everybody's got their own individual zest, and they're bringing something different to the part. The whole business has shifted now because everything's become video auditions, as you know. And we were talking about this earlier. You mentioned you didn't like video auditions. I think it must be incredibly relaxing for actors just to be able to audition for stuff in their bathroom and, put up a tarp behind them and just not have to have these tribunal of grouches judging their personality and their voice and how they look and stuff, and just send off tapes. And so a lot of the video, that's how people get jobs now, by video. It's like video dating.
Well, for me, I guess I'll address it this way. I think Shia LaBeouf is like the best actor in the entire world because he spent most of his career in front of a green screen pretending that things were there that weren't there, and I mean, that is the art of acting, really, and what, I forget what the movie was.
One of the Terminators?
No, it was a
Transformers. Transformer movies.
No, it was a one-off from something. It was a Illegal Eagle or something or whatever. I forget the name of it, but he starts off, there's this massive crying scene in the beginning, and stuff. I mean, not running in front of a green screen, and I was just like blown away.
Yeah.
And I
think,
and
I've said to you before, I think some of the best actors work in science fiction because so much of it is created in their minds. I can't tell you how many green screens I've stood in front of. I did Stargate Atlantis, and I did Andromeda with Kevin Sorbo for years, and Earth Final Conflict, and I've had a whole bunch of, I've done a bunch of science fiction movies, and so much of it is not there, and you're the director, and you're trying to say, okay, well, there's going to be a big creepy monster here, or an exploding spaceship or something, and you have to describe the world for them, and all it is a red taped X on a wall, and so they basically rely on their imagination.
Well, and it's interesting now with social media, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, they often will show, a behind the scenes. Here's the scene as it shows on screen, and here's the scene they did it. And you see somebody riding, the robot or the people in the, the light suits, whatever, and holding up the mops and the whole thing. And you just go, oh my God, you really have to pretend, but you really do have to sell it. For me, it's always been, I love. I mean, the reason I like this show is live. I love it because anything that can go wrong does go wrong. I love live performance. I'm not a big theater actor but I love acting in front of a camera because the same thing is true. You have to oftentimes just think on your feet. You have to adjust, and you may have to be there for a long haul. So I enjoy that. But I'm and if I'm on a set and I'm looking out at something, pretend it's different than if I'm in my room, with a camera, and I shouldn't have that mental thing of this is different than that. But those self tapes in my house just aren't as for
So
me.
that's interesting. So you almost feel more self-conscious just by yourself in the living room than you would with
I
this,
feel like I'm
this
pretending in my
tribunal
room
people.
with my phone as opposed to I'm actually doing something for someone else, and selling a performance. With that said, I wanted to ask you, you cut your teeth through a viewfinder, I would imagine. There was no Video Village in those early days in the 70s.
That's how old I am. I can remember being on film sets and actually hearing the film churning through the cameras.
Yes,
which I really miss.
With
Which
the
great.
sound blankets and stuff to quiet the cameras and but the point I'm making
in the old days, Rex, we had silent movies and
But in the old days, I mean, you would look through the thing, you'd set up your shot, and you'd look at the end shot, with the DP, and then you had to trust that they got the shot, and then you didn't know until the dailies were there. Now it's Video Village where you can just see. And I had an actor come up to me on a movie not that long ago, said, "I can't do this," and I'm like, he was like complimenting me, and I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Because as many times as you were interrupted for either some change or some composition thing in Video Village, move to your left, do this." Every time they would, he goes, "I can't keep my dialogue straight after that because I get thrown every time."
Yeah.
And for me, that is the challenge. That is the stuff that I actually love. So I'm about to go, and they go cut, and I'm like, "Whoa, cut." It's kind of like
I try not to interrupt great acting in mid-performance.
Well, but that's cool because so many times, I mean, with Video Village, it's just a whole different experience. You literally can edit while you're shooting. You can compose your scene.
And then the fun thing the thing that I think makes sets a lot looser and more fun is that with digital now, when you're not just counting the footage frames burning off and all the money you're spending,
right?
You just keep the cameras rolling and you say, take it again, try those lines again, start it, pick it up from the beginning. It's a much more casual kind of style, I think, shooting with digital. At least I've always found that. And so, once people realize that when you create that kind of wonderful, relaxed environment, people just do their best work. I love that. I like my sets to be just really comfortable, happy, fun places. And like I said, it's me. I'll do all the worrying. You just relax.
I love that. Most of the sets I've been on have been nightmares. I mean, they literally have. The last movie I did was wonderful. It was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. They created just this absolutely wonderful family atmosphere and everything. But I've just been on ones that, all I wanted to do was go home and never come back. But, I'm living the dream. I am living the dream. This is living the dream. As hard as it gets, I'm doing what I want to be doing.
Rex, I also have the advantage of being Canadian, so we're intensely polite people,
Oh,
I've been directing for almost 40 years. I've raised my voice once on set. The joke, how do you make a Canadian apologize? Punch him in the face. So we're very calm folks, and great comedians and great.
Truly,
I think we never got the temper gene in Canada. I don't know what it is.
Well,
at least I don't. The whole thing about blowhard directors screaming and yelling and stuff. I just laugh at it because I can't relate to it in any way. It's just never the way I've worked. I've certainly been around that. And I've worked, when I was coming up making coffee for people when I was 16, 17, I worked for my share of screamers. And I used to think, if I ever do this job, I'm not going to treat people like crap. But, everybody's different. Everybody has a different style of management, I think.
Well, let me ask you something, because you brought this up. I hear so many people talk about like the English work ethic, the people who are brought up, in the BBC theater and acting, and
they break for tea.
Well, but that they're harder workers than the average American. But there are so many wonderful breakthrough, incredible Canadian actors who have graced the American cinema in throughout the years. Is there a secret to being Canadian? I mean, what is,
I think it's the mountain water. I think
it's what it is. But remember, I mean, look at the talent. Look at all the comedy talent. One of my most recent favorite comedy shows was Schitt Creek. I mean, I just love those guys.
Which I resisted forever. I don't know why. And I finally binged it, and of course I loved it. I think the title was turning me off, but I'm a huge, you know, I mean, I was just a huge SCTV fan. I think SCTV is brilliant, and hearing, you know, Saturday Night Live folks, all of them kind of worship SCTV. It was just really, really funny stuff. And I don't know. I guess we got a funny bone that's different than anywhere else.
I mean, but you can Martin Short, Jim Carrey. I mean, you just keep going on and on and on about who's Canadian. I mean, yeah, in the industry, and Michael J. Fox. I mean, is it maybe it's the politeness, maybe it's the nice guy, maybe it's the, you know, there's a different kind of energy that they bring to. I mean, I'm generalizing. I'm making something here, but I
think there's it's also a downside to that too. I think that, you know, we tend to be sort of a calmer people. I remember thinking when I was starting out, I made 2 independent features in Canada, and I thought maybe I should have I moved to Los Angeles when I was pretty late, like I was early 30s or something, and I always thought maybe I should have made my first feature and then rushed to Los Angeles and got an agent, and maybe I would have had a different. I mean, of course, I would have had a different career track, but at the same time, kind of working your way up the ladder, wherever I am now on the ladder, I don't know. Maybe I'm at the bottom, but it just everybody has a different route, and so the slow route worked for me. I mean, gradually developing things, and you know, wherever I am now, I mean, it's working. I guess I'm working. I hope I'm working. Has the phone rung since we started?
That's beautiful.
I'm gonna call my agent when we get off. Make sure
I do want to remind our viewers, live and or otherwise, to go to davidwinning.com or to the YouTube channel or the Vimeo channel that you see in the chat room, and this, of course, will be on the Facebook Live. The Los Angeles Tribune page and elsewhere, but go to the link and look at David's directing reel for 2021. It is worth the watch. It is absolutely worth it, and get to know David that much better. And you know what? I know that you're familiar with him, even if you don't know his name or you haven't recognized his face, because he's done so many things.
I've been around. I just can't. A lot of the people I started with aren't making movies anymore. I don't know why. I keep coming back.
Well, it's fun. I mean, when it's all said and done, as hard as it might be, or as I would have said, you know, painful as it might be sometimes, it's eminently worth it. It is something that, you know, I got into it for all the wrong reasons, but I really did want to do it, and I really do love it, and it is truly an amazing opportunity. And to, I don't know, there's just something about, you know, being there and getting to pretend while all these people are, you know, 40, 50, 100 people are standing around, and you're pretending, and then, you know, a while later you get to see what you did and how they filmed it.
There's the dogs.
There are the dogs. That's Bailey. Bailey's running out the door.
Let me hide the kittens.
And Sasha's gonna go. Sasha, go with her.
Last time, viewers don't know this. Last time I talked to Rex, his dogs were attacking him in the middle of the interview. It was quite funny.
That's right.
Your dogs love you, Rex.
They love me. They do. You got to check my Facebook profile out. I've got 2 pictures of snuggling with my dogs, and I love these girls.
Yeah,
they're maybe I'd love them to be movie dogs, but I don't want them to go to their head because they're just too precious.
We'll set them up.
So you also have another movie coming out too in December. You got a Christmas movie. You got Thanksgiving and Christmas.
No, actually it's already aired. It was, but they air, they re-air and re-air. I did a movie with Danica McKellar called You, Me, and the Christmas Trees, which aired in October, and it was great. Danica, people remember Danica from Wonder Years, and it was kind of a mini Wonder Years reunion because Jason Hervey, who played the older brother, the guy that was always pestering everybody, was also in the movie. He played sort of our bad guy. So it was kind of fun. They had a little mini reunion. But that movie these movies will outlive all of us, I think. You know, they're with any luck, they rerun them quite a bit, and I'm happy. You know, like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years, so a lot of the old movies are starting to come back too. And I've got friends that are saying, "Are you directing everything on this? It's like 3 movies you did today." But
so
I'm particularly proud of the Christmas ones. I think they turned out really well. I did. Yeah, I've had a good time. I hope they keep hiring me.
So I should ask you because Sorbo's a friend of ours, and
Yep.
and the last time I was on a set with him, we just it was funny. I got back into LA. I said, let's meet up. He said, I can't, I'm filming. I said, okay, another time. A director friend of mine called me up and said, hey, I'm shooting this thing. Why don't you come on out? And I said, okay, well, I'll see what day I can get there. And I went through this whole thing. So I picked like a Friday. I'm like 10 days later, close to the end of the thing. And as I'm leaving Video Village to get to the set, I hear this, guy calling my name, and I'm like trying to figure out who's calling my name. Where is this coming from? It's a director friend of mine who I've known since I was in my early 20s. And I get up there and we start to watch, and we're looking at the scene, and I'm like, is that Sorbs? He's like, yeah. I'm like, really? You know him? I go, yeah. So he says, cut, and he walks off. They go to around the corner where they were filming inside this barn. The next thing I hear is, Sikes!
That's great.
What are you doing here? And the reason I ask is because Kevin did a lot of work with you, and he's did a lot of work for Hallmark, and a lot of people work for Hallmark over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, they are very prolific. Is there a secret to getting into Hallmark? And I'm not asking you for myself. I'm just saying, is there a wherewithal for people who are trying to get into the business, whether they're screenwriters or directors or that because Hallmark just they keep coming. They don't stop.
I don't know. I guess you kind of have to tap into going back to when you were a kid and what you used to watch with the family around the TV, that kind of sensibility, because it's just beautiful, wholesome stuff. Sometimes it's corny, but sometimes it's incredibly inspiring and emotional. And those are the kind of movies I love to make for them. So I guess I would say, try to tap into what your family used to watch when you were kids. Because those values are timeless. Hallmark offers, as I've said a million times, kind of safe harbor for viewers. It's wonderful entertainment. Sure, it's predictable, and they're going to kiss at the end, unless they don't, and then I'll get fired. But no, it's wonderful kind of family entertainment, and I've had a great time working for them. I mean, I love to do lots of other things too. I love action and horror and all that kind of stuff, but this is where I find myself nowadays. I mean, I think what happens with directors, at least for my career, you'll end up doing things for 4 or 5 years, and that's all they'll think you can do. So you just do the best you can in that genre. I did science fiction for 4 or 5 years. I did 6 or 7 series for Nickelodeon kids series. I've done, you name it. And it just gives you a lot of tools in the toolbox. And like I said at the beginning, it's all entertainment anyway. So
your favorite personal genre?
My favorite personal genre is probably action thrillers. I got into the business because I went to the theater one day and just was completely blown away by a thriller from the mid 70s that I still consider probably one of the best thrillers of all time, which is 1976 Marathon Man, Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman. I was like 14, I think, when I saw this movie, and I was terrified by it. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like riveting acting and just thrilling, nail-biting suspense. And I thought that's kind of what I wanted to do. So that was always my focus. If you said you can only make one kind of movie for the rest of your life, it would probably be action thrillers.
It's really interesting. When I was a kid, I was 4 years old, sitting on my mom's lap watching the Marx Brothers, and it was Duck Soup, and and we would do this every weekend, and stuff. And I said, I want to do that. And I grew up transcribing all their movies, and then other movies like the Wheeler and Woolsey movies and Carney and Brown. I mean, all these old comedians in the 30s that I just adored. And then I got into show business, and I almost never do comedy. I'm always like the killer, the druggist, the rape addict. Now I'm the drunk, the priest, the father, the grandfather, whatever.
Hey, it's a living, Rex.
No. I'm not complaining at all. I'm just saying, I thought I would be doing like comedy. It's just very rare have I ever done comedy.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You never know where you're going to end up. I mean, I always thought I'd kind of retire doing sitcoms in LA or something, which is kind of the dinner theater life, which I would love. I've done 3-camera format sitcoms, kid series, and that's a lot of fun. It's fun to shoot stuff with live audience. It's a very different kind of experience, but I don't know. I just keep rolling. I keep going where they send me. like I said, I check in with the agent. Where am I going today? It's literally like that. I mean, I remember being I was touring through, I think it was in Dallas, Texas 20 years ago. And I was at the JFK Museum because I'm a big JFK fan. And I was really fascinated by the whole museum and history and stuff there. And I got a call. I don't know why it happened to be there, but I got a call and the agent said, "Have you ever been to Budapest?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Okay, we'll get in a plane at midnight." And that's kind of how the life is, you know. And I went over to Budapest in Hungary and I shot the Dinotopia series for ABC. It was just a blast, just an amazing time. And I've shot in, I was mentioning last week to somebody, I've shot in castles in Scotland. And like, what kind of career takes you all over the world? You know, I mean, we're really lucky. I count my blessings every day that people keep hiring me because it's, you know, you get to work with such great people and it's a ton of fun. It's like you said, you never grow up. I mean, you get to be a kid and it's all about, it's playtime in the sandbox. You know, I mean, you make believe for a living. It's kind of a silly job, but it seems like everybody wants to be in this business. So, you know.
Well, what I really appreciate about you, David, is not only your talent and all the entertainment, all the years of entertainment. I mean, if I started watching everything you did right now, it would be at least a half a year later before I ever got, you know.
I'd have a massive headache if I watched everything I'd done.
Yeah, right.
I watch the stuff and my life passes before my eyes. Oh, I remember that show.
But I mean, you're very prolific, but you're also truly one of the good guys. You walk your talk.
Wow. Thank you, Rex.
No, you
I'll buy lunch. I'll buy lunch next time.
But you exemplify it, you know. And somebody said, you know, I really love your attitude. And Natalie Essman said, you know, what you loved about you and what you exude and how you inspire, and the fact that you love the business and you enjoy the business and you've done so much in the business and for the business, and you still manage to keep it alive and have that kind of pleasant.
Oh, shucks. You embarrass me now.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind words.
I
hope I'm inspiring somebody, because otherwise, what am I doing this for?
So we have only a couple minutes left, and I would love to be able to give you the final word, or allow you to wrap up your talk, whether that's, you know, promotional in terms of reminding people that what's airing next week, but and also in terms of just keeping people who are interested in this as a career, what final closing suggestion you might make for them.
Gosh, that's a heavy tall order. When I was doing my first feature in my 20s, the movie called Storm, I was typing on an IBM Selectric up in my bedroom thinking, this is never going to get made. I had a little sign by my desk that said, "Ignore dream killers." And that's kind of a philosophy I've always had, because when you start out, especially in Canada, when you might as well be a million miles from Hollywood. You know, it's like, how are you going to get there? How are you going to, you just, don't give up on your dreams. And as corny as it sounds, if you're not doing what you want in life and you really want to be in the movie business, or you really want to be a painter, or you want to be an astronaut, or whatever you want to be, just don't give up on your dreams. And, people are in the world for one reason, and it's obviously to follow whatever as they say in Back to the Future, your density is. So follow your destiny. That's what I did. And I was just so desperate to get a film career and be a director. I guess I wanted to be this old guy making movies, and look what I've become.
Well, you don't look old, that's for sure. You look really young. You look very, very good.
It's the lighting.
No, it's not the lighting, because you've had changes of lighting while we've been talking. So you just naturally exude that.
I think the sun is setting on me in Alberta. That's what's happening.
Yeah, good luck. So, David, I want to thank you so much for being here again. Next week, 9 Kittens.
9 Kittens of Christmas on November 25th in the States and December 5th in Canada on the W Network.
And the Hallmark Network here in the States, that's Thanksgiving Day. That would be Thursday of next week.
And I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all those other places if you want to look for me and critique my movies or ask me questions. I'm pretty open.
He is pretty open, so take him up on that offer, and also be sure to visit davidwinning.com.
More than you'll ever want to know about me, I guarantee.
David,
thanks, Rex. Thank you. You've always been so supportive. I really appreciate it. You do great work, and you really support a lot of people in the business, and it's always fun to talk to you.
No, and likewise. And so I'm so glad that you made the time to be able to be here and do this. And I'm looking forward to the movie next week. And I never thought I'd have to, say that you were herding cats for a living, but you were
I'm herding cats. Yeah, it was an experience.
That's wonderful. Well, all right, my friend, I will. I'll be talking to you in just a few minutes, but thank you so much for being here. And again, go visit David Winning at davidwinning.com. Thank you, sir. And with that, we come to the close of another show. I want to say that I am absolutely thrilled that you were here. I hope you'll share it in replay. Go ahead and you can hit the like button wherever it is, whether it's YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that. Do comment, because when you comment, that always trips up those algorithms to make the show more visible to other people. So whether it's Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, LinkedIn, or where else, YouTube. Go ahead and hit those links. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I am so very glad. I mean, the Los Angeles Tribune has made it possible for me to have a show on the Los Angeles Tribune, and the Tribune brought you the 5 days, 4 open days, and a special secret private day of the New Psychology of Winning Tour 21 with David Waitley and Les Brown and Bob Proctor and John Asseroff and Joe Vitale and Marie Diamond and Sharon Lecter and so many incredible people who I didn't name, but they brought you that, and they're going to be bringing you a whole lot more, and a whole lot of good stuff is coming down the pipeline from the Los Angeles Tribune. So be sure to stay tuned and stay updated to what we're doing here at the Tribune. And it's just such a treat and a pleasure to be on air with the Los Angeles Tribune. So with that said, I am the author of this book, Life on Your Terms, available at Amazon. You can get it there in hardcover or paperback. It's even available in Kindle. But if you take your receipt code from your purchase of the book and you go to my website, which is rexsikes.com, you can see it there under my name in a second, but /book, rexsikes.com /book. I'm giving away a bonus training. It's been valued at $497. It's actually on how you learn and how you master skills and talents and abilities, whether it's your thinking, your feeling, or your behaviors, or anything you want to do, whether you want to learn how to cook or you want to learn how to juggle. It's called the Mastery Loop. And so when you take your receipt, you put it in, follow the instructions there at the website, rexsikes.com /book. And you'll get this $497 training absolutely free as my gift to you for your purchase of my book, Life on Your Terms. That said, you can find me every day in the Clubhouse rooms, Gratitude Activator, and we have rooms in the evenings, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So come and visit me there. And do stay tuned to the Los Angeles Tribune for all the wonderful things that are coming your way through Mo Rock and the Tribune staff. So thank you. Many great shows on the Tribune as well. And I am Rex Sikes. I'm glad that you're here. Oh, my next show is not Thursday because it is Thanksgiving. It will actually be on the 24th. We're going to go in the morning. I believe it's 8:30. It could at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. I will put those out for you so that you know. But it will be with Les Brown and J.B. Owen. So the incredible Les Brown is going to be my guest the day before Thanksgiving, along with J.B. Owen. They're going to be talking about so many incredible topics that are relevant and pertinent to you in your life and your business and in terms of feeling good. I know you're going to want to be there. So please help me share that. And in the meantime, make your dreams come true. If you consider everything a blessing, then everything is a blessing. And as I always say, celebrate everything. Because you can. See you the next time.